Greetings, wrestling fans. Bro Overton here with your action-packed recap for April the 8th. Kicking the action off was the Anomaly Antonio Morgan taking on the hardest-hitting man, Dirty Joe. Morgan was the early-on crowd favorite. The two would test their strength and power against one another, and after a constant back and forth, Dirty Joe would roll up Antonio Morgan, grabbing a handful of tights, securing the victory. All Worm No Soul then made their way to the ring. Joey Ford would in no uncertain terms tell the crowd that All Worm No Soul is here to dismantle and humiliate any future opponents. Two APW stars teamed up to answer their call, Chris Phoenix and Austyn Bebop. The blended team's athleticism and technical ability proved to be a tough matchup for All Worm No Soul, but after a valiant effort by both Bebop and Phoenix, All Worm No Soul would walk away with victory. The big man on campus was up next, TJ Boss, facing locally hated Chris Valo in a non-title match. Valo would immediately go on the offensive. However, just like every other opponent in 2022, Valo would fall victim to the big man as Boss secured the victory. After the contest, an attempt of mind games by Joey Ford and Brady Collins, who surrounded the ring. Boss spotted the two immediately and invited them in for a fight right then and there. AWNS would choose to back away. Boss had had enough. He laid down the challenge, Gods Remembered in Time versus All Worm No Soul for the Tag Team Championship on April the 22nd. The next contest was between two people who knew each other very well. The Ugly Duckling Rob Killjoy would face John Matthews, who has not lost in an APW ring since pinning JD Drake late in 2021. The contest was back and forth and evenly contested, but in the end, it would be John Matthews walking away with victory. Matthews would extend his hand to Killjoy, but the Ugly Duckling, angered in defeat, initially refused. After some coaxing by the crowd, Rob Killjoy eventually shook John Matthews' hand and left the ring disappointed in his loss. The action didn't stop there as the baddest chick in the game, Caitlin Marie, would face off against Elijah Proctor. After 10 minutes of exciting back-and-forth action, Elijah Proctor would secure the victory and claim he is now the new baddest chick in the game. APW fans, it was now time for the main... Sorry, it's a force of habit. It was now time for the main event of the evening. The Absolute Truth, Alexander Moss, would take on the Southern Savior, John Skyler. In a first-ever pairing of the two, Moss and Skyler held nothing back leading up to the event, with Moss questioning Skyler as a savior and Skyler promising Moss the beating of his life. In a match for the ages, Alexander Moss and John Skyler would go to war for over 20 minutes. In the heat of battle, official Josh Williams would get knocked out. Referee John Harkey would come in to serve as the replacement, and Alexander Moss would get the victory, or so we thought. The original official would call off the victory, restarting the match. Skyler took advantage of the opportunity, pinning Moss and walking away beaten and bruised, but victorious nonetheless. Thank you again, wrestling fans, for tuning in, and be sure to join the action live April 22nd at 110 Helen Street in Chester, South Carolina. With your APW report, I'm Brett Wolverton.